Mm, okay. My neck and my throat are feeling awesome after that last one. I just absolutely love that stuff. Yeah, I will drop that also in our thread. The name of that organization that like does all the, excuse me, my garage door is just creepily opening. I'll drop the name of the organization that has all of the fascia maneuvers content, but it's called Human Garage, and they have tons and tons and tons of free resources, especially on YouTube, free videos of like a bajillion different maneuvers. So highly recommend that. Okay. So just yeah, invitation to take a few breaths here. Maybe notice if one of the hands or both of the hands wants to come into contact with the body. Hmm. Notice if your body wants to immediately shift toward stillness, or whether your body wants to move towards maybe a sway or a rock or a stretch. Ah, ah, ah. Noticing if any sounds are present here for you. Noticing if there's resistance to sounds. And if there is, seeing if you can make the sound of that resistance. Beautiful. And then I know it's just the both of us, Jeannie, but you're just gonna open up the chat and just drop a couple of words of what you're noticing. Oh, I notice the backside of my heart, which feels cool. I notice excitement that I feel that because I don't always feel that. That is a pocket that is oftentimes just like not here, not with me. Lots of sound. Yeah. Eyes feel rested, throat and chest online. Gorgeous. Noticing. Mm, mm, mm. Just taking a few more breaths here and finding a resource in your space, something that feels beautiful to you or calming to you. There's a lady cardinal out on a bird feeder in my garden. And she's looking pretty cute. Yeah, no legs. Awesome noticing. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I notice my back, my like the flat muscles of my back are not online. I notice I have knees today. My outer thighs are here. Good. If you're continuing to track in the chat, perfect. Otherwise, we'll just practice this breath that we've been playing with as you gaze at that resource, that image, that scene, imagining you're breathing in the resource through your eyes. So just taking it in on the breath in. And on the exhales, you're softening the tissues at the backs of the eyes, the eye sockets. Inhaling to draw it in. Exhaling to soften at the backs of the eyes. And these inhales, it's not an effortful, like, I need to pull this in. It just happens, right? You just breathe in and just easily exhale, backs of the eyes soften. Good. And just take a few more rounds of breath like that. Beautiful. This is a breath and embodiment practice, right? Fusing this breath with this simple piece of embodiment practice of softening the backs of the eyes on the exhale, which again is, we just did these fascia maneuvers. They're fascially interconnected, very much so interconnected. The tissues at the backs of the eyes with the tissues that drop down through the head, through the throat, into the chest, right? Down into the central column. And so when we practice softening at the backs of the eyes, those tissues cause this chain softening of the tissues physically in the central column. And I've been in practice with this technique, right? This is a technique. I've been in practice with this technique for about 2 months every day. And I am blown away by what it allows for and what it creates. And I know I've probably said this, but it's not only does this technique really blow me away in resourcing, right? It kind of allows me to actually see what I'm seeing. It softens a lot of the visual noise, I would say. Like I find that I can come into way more of a focal point with this technique. But where it's really blown me away is with my partner. And I've known and I've been practicing other techniques about like women practicing or the feminine partner in any practice, practicing a soft gaze or a wide gaze. And there's something about this specificity of this technique of the inhale, drawing in, and the exhale, softening the backs of the eyes. There's something about the specificity of this technique that has really shocked me on how, not only how it creates this sense of intimacy. The first word I used when I was practicing this technique for the first time was admiration. I'm able to admire the like magnificence, the majesty of whatever it is I'm resourcing with. And not only does that occur when I'm looking at my partner, and that in my experience, being able to perceive our masculine partners with admiration, being able to see the majesty in our masculine partners is one of the most anchoring and affirming things for our male partners. So it's not only very affirmative, but what I've found is it also draws forward more consciousness. And I get chills on my arms when I say that. I think because, I mean, obviously it's just magnificent, but it's immediate. I notice it immediately. If I find myself in a given moment, whether we are in an intimacy practice or whether we're in like a heated moment or a conflict or some sort of tension, and I remember to shift the tone of my gaze with this technique, inhaling and then exhaling to soften the back sides of the eyes, I notice a shift in his consciousness immediately. No words, no other shift in body language other than what happens in my body and my tissues when that chain softening happens, right? Backs of the eyes through the center column, just naturally. I notice a shift in his consciousness, and that is insane. I find that to be fucking crazy. And yeah, I would just so invite any of you, if any of you find yourself wanting to practice that um, with anybody really, right? Like everyone has masculinity, everybody has consciousness that can be drawn forward and called forward more when we're in interactions. But I really want to offer that to you because it's just something that I've been playing with and practicing with this technique, and it's changed like a very subtle layer of our dynamic, but that subtle layer of how open am I and how conscious is he, fucking massive. Yeah, amazing. Awesome, Jeannie. Didn't know that was gonna come through. I'm like salesperson number one for this technique. Salesperson number one, because my partner can get really hot. Like his energy is, it can get very intense. He's a Scorpio sun. So outwardly facing, his energy can get very hot. It can get very intense. It can get very sharp. And he also, we navigate a lot of betrayal wounding. I navigate what I bring to our relationship is more like abandonment wounding. His is betrayal wounding. And so his consciousness can get really sharp, really tightened, really just in his own child, which is great, awesome, fabulous, no problem. But in those moments when I'm like, ooh, I would love my 35-year-old man to be a little bit more here, that would feel helpful. This practice, this technique of softening the eyes, I notice it widens his consciousness. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Taking a couple of breaths with that. I wonder if you notice anything in your body, in your field, any thoughts. I noticed that my jaw tightened up right at the very end of that, or I feel kind of not even tightness, but maybe like congestion in my jaw. Notice it makes me want to squeeze my cheeks with my fingers. My third eye space is like whoops. I love that sound effect. Yeah, beautiful noticing. Just take a couple more cycles of breath here. Back of neck tingles. Yeah. Yeah. I notice my whole front body really coming. It's like it all wants to touch my forearms, my belly, my chest. It's like everything wants to touch in the front right now. I feel curiosity about that. Something that was on my mind. On my mind as we were coming into this call. And we can weave this into to the share that I'll invite you into here. But we're closing out this theme of the feminine and the father, and we've really been taking this time to just investigate and contemplate like what our leadership blueprint has been, right? What parts of the blueprint feel like strong suits that we can lean into, and what parts of the blueprint feel like just weaker suits, weaker cards that we kind of want to slough off, that we don't want to play as intentionally, maybe, or ones that maybe come up with our child consciousness more, ones that we're in the practice of not putting on, right? I think about, or my mentor even talks about child consciousness being like a bag, a little sack next to you. And maybe there's like some gloves in the sack. And that sack is holding these different child strategies, right? These different adaptive child strategies that got you safety, love, protection, care as a child. But now when you go to try to put those gloves on, I imagine them like tiny, tiny little child gloves, and your hand is like all shoved up in it. Now you can't even do anything with your hand, right? It's become maladaptive. It's become no longer helpful or useful. And my mentor talks about the practice and really the contemplation, the stance that we're practicing inside of Raw Hot Power is that bag with the gloves inside of it, those ill-fitted gloves. You're not going to get rid of the bag, right? That's when I say, like, I'll die with my child strategies. You'll die with your child strategies. Your child consciousness, like I say, is like a fixed piece. It's a finished piece. It's gone through the proverbial kiln, right? It's like a piece of pottery that you were making and molding as a child. And then as you exited childhood, it went through the kiln and now you have this finished piece. So the bag with the gloves isn't going anywhere, but the practice and the skill that we're flexing is when we find ourselves in a moment of not having our preferences met, really, right? Those are those moments when we have a preference, when we would like reality to be different than how it is, right? I would like more money right now, or I would like my partner to be less intense right now, or I would like a meal right now, or I'd like to feel less anxious right now, or a bajillion other things. Those moments when reality isn't meeting our preferences, those have been in the past the moments where we naturally want to reach into the bag, shove the glove on, and the child consciousness wants to say, ooh, if we do this, we'll get more love. If we do this, I know, right? This is your child consciousness talking. This is my child consciousness talking to me. Ellie, if you just put this glove on, I know you'll get more love from him. It's worked for me like 500 times. Right? That's my child consciousness. And she's full on correct, right? She has done this 500 times. She did make that move 500 times in childhood, and it did get her more love and attention in childhood. So just continuing to remind ourselves and feel and see how there's not malevolence. Is that word? Malevolence? There's not malintent, right? All those things that you do that you notice, oh, fuck, I'm doing that thing. I'm doing that thing. God, I hate when I do that thing. There's not malevolence in that thing, right? It's so innocent. These pieces that are like, no, but seriously, like I've seen this work like so many times. And what we're practicing is expanding expanding our adult consciousness, expanding our mature woman so that we know, aha, I know though that doesn't work anymore. I know for me, if I were speaking, I know that when my partner becomes really intense, I know that collapsing and letting my face go kind of numb does not work to get me more love, does not work to get me more connection. It did as a child. If I was pouting, then maybe my parents would look at me and say, oh, what's wrong? Right? Care, attention, love. But I know I've seen that doesn't create that with my partner. So the practice, my long-winded explanation, the practice is in those moments when your reality is not meeting your preference, even though there's a part of you that looks at that bag with the teeny gloves and says, put on this glove, collapse, blow up, blame him. The one that says, don't try to sell anything. Just freeze in your business. The one that says, just scroll on your phone instead of posting a piece of content. These gloves, the practice is noticing the part of you that looks at the bag, says, put on the glove, put on the glove, put on the glove. And you practicing saying, I'm actually not going to put on that glove right now. Maybe you reach your hand into the bag and you even touch the glove and you're like, don't put it on. I'm not going to put it on. I remember. And then there's also going to be times where you throw that glove on, throw two of them on. Now you got these tiny little hands and you can't do anything. And you're like, oops, I forgot. Those gloves don't fit me anymore. I think this is a really sweet analogy. The tiny gloves. There's something about the humor in it that I really appreciate. The image of my hands in tiny little baby leather gloves. Let me know if this is making sense. This practice of child consciousness. Yeah, okay, cool. So, what I feel so curious about, and we're going to continue opening into money as we continue to come through Raha power, because money and preference, holy shit. There are few things that we, even just as primal animal humans, have more preferences about than money and how much money we have, right? Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So there is, because there's strong preference, anywhere that there is strong preference, do you see how that area has a stronger pull or draw for child consciousness to be there? If you don't give a shit, if you really were like, I don't really have a preference on this, there's not really a place for child consciousness to want to come in and help you, right? Because that's what that child consciousness is trying to do. Remember, it's like, Ellie, you want the love? Yes, I've gotten love before with this glove. Put it on. So if you don't really have a strong preference, there's less reason for child consciousness to show up. The areas that you have strong preferences in, those call forward child consciousness. That's a new thought for me. That is a new pocket of this contemplation, which is fun. I've been contemplating this shit for 2 years straight. So the places that you have strong preferences are the places that child consciousness wants to play out the most, which is crazy and kind of ironic, because if you have really strong preferences and child consciousness is all up in your fucking grill, it's pretty hard to get your preferences actually met as an adult who's playing with child consciousness strategies. Ouch. That makes everything underneath my head tingle. So, what we are in the practice of, what I am in the practice of, frankly, I'll speak for myself, is both my practice, my skillfulness in noticing when I want to put on the tiny glove and say, nope, I remember now, I don't want to put on that glove. It doesn't help me here. And I'm also in the contemplation, in the practice of softening my preferences. And to me, that happens only through prayer and trusting God, communion with God, and relationship with God. To me, softening your preferences is humility. It's like bowing, softening my preferences. I'll keep it in my language. Softening my preferences is humility for me. It's bowing myself to God, right? It's bowing my ego to God, my desires to God, and saying, God, you see, this is such a prayer that I continue to roll with. God, you see what I want. You see my heart. You see my mind. You see my desires. You see what I've been aching for. You see what I've been imagining, what I've been envisioning. You see what I want. And I trust you more than I trust myself. And not even I trust you more than I trust myself, but I want what you want for me more than what I want for myself. And that's not even always true. So sometimes it's, God, help me to want what you want for me more than I'm obsessed with what I want for me. I notice a lot of quiet just came into my head. This has to do with pace. I find the pace at which things are happening, the pace at which my business grows, the pace that my sex develops or deepens, the pace at which my sensitivity of my cervix and my like inner vaginal landscape comes online or not. The pace that I establish these good habits that I want to, right? This is where I find this come through the most, that my preferences are most obsessed with the pace that things are happening at. And the greatest moments of my fucking life are when I can stop obsessing about the pace. And I can just say, God, I actually trust you. I actually trust you. And if I don't, God, help me to actually trust you. Yeah. Fun. Fun, fun, fun. I notice I want to breathe into like my back solar plexus. Whoa. Makes me want to bow. Yeah. Yay. Mm-hmm. More of that. More of that. More of that. Okay. So, what I would love to hear, this has been a fun transmission for me. What I would love to hear is your voice, Miss Jeannie. I would love to hear your voice, and I would love to hear you share on what is oh, this is gonna be fun. Okay. This is one that I did as a recipient last week. What is actually happening in your life right now? Not like and I'll give you an example, like I'll do mine. So that what it is not, what the prompt is not, is for me to be like, I am going to sell 20 spots in momentum, and I am going to double, triple what's in my bank account right now. And I am going to do this and this and that, right? Like those are all fucking awesome things. I'm setting intent for those things. I'm praying on those things for sure. But what this prompt is what's actually happening in life and in business, right? I'm feeling this business tone in here. Obviously, also because I work with you one-on-one, so I know you're up in business. So what's actually happening for you? So for me, it might be I am in the first couple of days of a week and a half, 2 weeks, actually 2 weeks straight alone, as in with being home without my partner, without my fiance. And I am both enjoying it in times and also really feeling the challenge on my system, feeling the challenge of not receiving as much touch, feeling the challenge of my system having relied on my fiance for safety and protection. So feeling that in my body. And then also what's actually happening is just this continued blocking, massive reorientation inside of my business that is starting to clarify slowly, kind of like a mist or a fog is lifting. But it even though it doesn't always feel like it's going to be massive from the outside, it feels like it's going to be massive from the inside. So that's what's actually happening. And then I want to invite you as well into if there's anything, if there's anything that you are feeling called into, right? Like I would say for me, like God's asking me to continue being in a deep practice with my void meditation and like going there every single day for up to 30 minutes where I'm just completely exiting into the void and trusting that this shift and this reorientation in my life and in my business, I'm going to be guided from there. I'm going to get the information I need from that place, not through more fucking to-do listing and typing on my computer. So that would be my example of the share. So I'm just going to type in the chat of what's actually happening in life is, and what are you feeling yourself called into? And that latter part is really where your leader, both of these places are a leader piece, right? Where you're feeling called into, your leader is going to have to say, yes, I will go. And this piece of what's actually happening in your life, love, business, this is like the adult leader, right? Not the child leader that's like, ah, oh, but the adult leader who can say, hey, this is actually what's real. This is the reality right now. Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's a hummingbird right at the window. Holy shit. Well, that's magnificent. Okay. Make a sense, darling.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm like so smiling and giggling and chiming along, laughing along with you here. So,
Mhm.
oh
Yay.
my, thank you. Yeah, so much is happening. Like, and there's no coincidence. Nothing is coincidence. But honestly, it all started really fucking happening right around the start of this container that I find really fascinating. And like what's actually happening is I'm starting to like just exist more and live down more in my lower body, like my womb and my hips, and just like less in my head, less in the, like realizing how um anxious I've just been kind of like living through my eyes and in my heads and just like not really feet on the ground, and my feet feel like they're coming more on the ground, and parts of myself, like really, really true parts of myself that I have locked away and put away and didn't look at for like, various reasons, right? Protection reasons or just heady reasons, are coming back online, like the parts of me that feel the most fucking alive. And I'm removing these versions of myself that I thought that I needed to be in order to be happy or to become someone or to do this path, that path, the path that worked for someone else. I'm like, oh yeah, that's not fully me. And yeah, I'm just coming back to me, along with really getting real with myself in the most exciting and fierce way about what I will participate in and what I won't.
Mm,
That feels amazing.
mm,
Yeah,
mm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And where I'm feeling called into. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, like even just this part is kind of wanting to come through too, is like with the child consciousness of wanting to like go out and seek like something that was coming through where you were speaking and doing all this big time was just like recognition in business or even recognition in love or recognition in like, like, oh, feeling a certain way about myself because that's how I perceive these people to feel about myself. And that's just been coming up as like a frontier that I haven't worked with in a while. So I'm being called to explore that and like where those decisions are coming from.
Mm.
And where I'm being called into is just like more into play, more into fun and connection without agenda, without like, I need to make this business decision and business connections and da da da, like just more
Mm.
genuine, existing, genuine connection.
That that last piece, my whole right arm got real excited about that. The making connections with no agenda, just like connecting to connect. Um,
Mhm.
and I would say like including being in the practice of including the pieces of you that want to make or feel like they need to make every connection be a business potential or a business opportunity or a business venture. And really like noticing those pieces of you that feel like that needs to be front and center focal point all the time, including her, right? Including those pieces of child consciousness. And then moving forward with, I just get to connect. I just get to engage. I just get to relate. I just get to play. I love that. I'm curious how that feels or if you notice anything body wise.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know I'm like looking at her and it's just like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like it's okay. Like just that piece that you shared of like the timing of it all. And it's like, I get that you want that so bad. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and you want it for a good reason. But yeah, it's like, come back here, come back to like really what is real. Like, even as you mentioned, the void, like this, where making the sale or then signing the new client doesn't even matter. Like, it's about so much more than that. So just reminding those of that, like, coexistence.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yes, absolutely. And I'll say, Jeannie, that the other thing I really heard and noticed more in the beginning of your share when you were speaking to the what's actually happening in your life and your love and your biz. And I found myself on the edge of my seat being like, what's happening in there? It's sounding like a lot's happening. I feel curious and I feel happy that we're in one-on-one because I'm definitely going to be poking and prodding you a little bit more because I'm just like going to be my nosy self and want to know what's happening.
I'll tell
Uh,
you all the tea.
yeah, the team. But what I really felt even in the and not saying that you were not being open, right? But it was a level of openness that I'm like, dang, I can feel that there's a fucking whole world underneath what you're saying. But the word that I felt and sensed was sovereignty, which is
Mm.
not always a word that I have not even like related with, but like it's been a word that I haven't even understood for a long time. I feel myself really just starting to come into an understanding of what sovereignty is and can offer and can be. And when you were describing what's actually happening, I felt this like both like a fierceness, but also a softness and a kind of like a claiming of yourself, claiming of your preferences, claiming of your desires, claiming of your work, claiming of your, like availability, like all of these things. I could just feel you to me, what I'm contemplating lately is that sovereignty is a claim of um, individualism. And I think in spirituality, when in some, flavors of it, they're like, oh, we're all one, we're all one, we're all one, we're all one. And it's like, yes, we are. I understand that. And this sovereignty to me feels like this claim of like the individual within that,
Mm.
really owning that and allowing yourself to operate in an even more healthy way because you're willing to claim yourself as an individual. And I felt a lot of power in that for you. So that makes me excited.
Thank you. Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
It's been a road. It's been a wild ride, and it feels like a huge point.
absolutely. Well, I'm so excited. Again, we have a one-on-one tomorrow, so I'm gonna be poking you for tea.
Yeah.
And until then, I will see you in the thread. Lady is on the recording. Would love to hear an update from you on this prompt of what's actually happening and where are you feeling called into? What are you feeling called into? And then just knowing that this will be our final few days playing with this theme before we move into our next. So, invitation to continue hopping into that show off thread, celebrating the places where your leader is drawing you into that feel right, that feel correct, that feel supportive of where you're going. Yay. Love y'all. Thank you for being here. And I will talk to you guys so soon.
Bye.
Bye.